Hello everybody, we are here with your Bakasura jungle guide. We're going to be starting off with our Assassin's Blessing, tier 1 katana, going into our golden blade, a health pot, hand of the gods, and our blink. So right off the bat, we're going to take a look at all these team comps. You can see that both teams have a lot of healing. This is very standard, very regular right now in the meta. On Bakasura, though, not the greatest applier of anti-heal that there has ever been. Standardly, the brawlers / divine ruins of the world are just the superior anti-heal applicators. We do not have that luxury on Bakasura, for we don't really have a way to proc them consistently or practically at all. So we're going to end up having to get a Toxic Blade this game, but you can't get Toxic Blade too early because it'll severely affect your damage as well as your like jungle clear, just like very basic stuff like that. So at level 1 on Baka, you get your jump first. This is probably the most common mistake on Bakasuras that I see, is that they get their eat first. Your jump does way more damage and it's way better at clearing at level 1. So make sure you get your jump first. Then you're gonna get your eat second and you're gonna run right up to this mid camp. You're not gonna spend any time on it. You're just gonna walk up and you're gonna quickly eat a minion. So that way you get credit for one of those. A lot of Baka's farming is kind of just walking around and quickly eating a minion. Then we're gonna walk kind of right over here and we're just gonna eat a minion. This type of quick farming is gonna hopefully let us get ahead over our opponent. Bakasura is a heavy jungle farmer. You should very much be focused on farming. Your kill potential on Bakasura is extremely low until you get level 5. Once you get level 5, your kill potential is much, much better. So until then, we're kind of just farming our brains out, running around the jungle, and just grabbing anything that we can. You can see every time I'm just gonna go into the jungle, I'm gonna eat a little harpy. Go into the jungle, eat a little harpy. Bakasura is quite good at clearing camps, though, because of his passive, giving him that bonus to his movement speed and his for every enemy that he kills and his attack speed. You're actually going to be able to run through the jungle very efficiently to get this farm. So right there, I jump into their backyard, right into their jungle, and I grab myself some more farm. On the oracles, you got to be a little bit careful, just because they are actually quite tanky and you don't really have a way to interrupt their defense that they provide themselves. You don't really have a CC and you might not even be able to eat them before they cast it off. So just be a little bit careful going for those too early, but you'll be fine once you get a couple of levels under your belt. Our first item that we're going to be going for is Golden Blade. Pretty straightforward. Our #1 priority on Bakasura is farming. Best case scenario, you don't really back until you can get your Golden Blade. The second that you can get your Golden Blade, you want to bag this. So right here after this blue, I'm gonna have just enough gold to get my Golden Blade. So I'm gonna back it up and make sure I get that ASAP, because Golden Blade is really gonna enhance my ability to farm, which is gonna let me invade their jungle more often, help me start getting some snowballing out of control farm. For our leveling order on Bakasura, we grabbed our 1 at level 1, then we grabbed our 2 at level 2. But our 3 is our ability. We're going to be ranking up to max first. This is our damaging ability, providing our auto attacks with that extra damage. We're going to get our ultimate whenever we can, because it's going to lower the cooldown of this ability. Without our ultimate up on Bakasura, our gank potential is quite lackluster. So we need that on as low as CDR as possible. And then finally, we're going to get our Eat Minion ranked up 3rd, and then finally our Jump last. So we start with Jump, but it's also going to be the ability that we max out last. I see a couple of them moved up a little bit in this duo lane. I was just running around in their jungle for farm. Neith is a good target for me. They both hit level 5, which is a little unfortunate. I'm gonna throw down this ulti. Unfortunately, Baka backflips, or excuse me, Neith backflips right when I use it. Because of the Baka's burping, she coincidentally accidentally backflipped right out of my ultimate, which is unfortunate. Just a little bit of bad timing between me and the Bacchus right there. If he would have flopped in, it would have been perfect. But
to base.
the burp on that one gave us away just a little bit. So right back to farming. So we know that we need a golden, or so we know that we need a toxic blade this game. So you don't want to get your anti-heal too late, but you can't get a toxic blade as like a first item that you can with a brawlers. Brawlers is just a good stat efficient item. A lot of power, gonna give you some good pen. Gonna help you burn through everything, so it's not that bad to have to get it early, you know? But on the Toxic Blade, it's really more late game beneficial stats with like attack speed percent. So you gotta be careful about getting it. I wouldn't grab it in your first 2 items. The absolute earliest I would consider getting it is 3rd. Which this game, I'm just gonna have to get it 3rd. I'm gonna have to suck it up. Yamoja, Neith, Erlang, AMA, hell, like, holy healing Batman. So we're gonna grab that Toxic Blade 3rd. So because we're gonna get Toxic Blade 3rd, we have to consider our 2nd item then. Toxic Blade is gonna give us a little bit of movement speed, attack speed, pen, health.
I got your back, brother.
So for our 2nd item, I'm gonna be concerned then with just getting raw damage online. A lot of power, because I know that my 3rd item is not going to provide anything to help out with that. Gonna save our point at level 8 so we can get our 3 and our ultimate up to max rank.
Enemy missing left.
At level 9. Constantly running through the enemy jungle as Bakasura. The way that you get ahead on Baka is through farming the jungle, particularly through farming the enemy's jungle. Because you can clear these camps so quick, it lets you just burn right on through and really get the enemy jungler behind. He can't even sit here to contest any of this because I've already got such an XP advantage. So I can just walk around his entire jungle. He has dashed in. I'm gonna throw down my ulti. I'm gonna use position my body for body blocks. Erlang's gonna get the heal off. That's fine. AMH has Roto over help. And I'm just gonna go right back into the jungle. So for our 2nd item, in order to make sure we're getting a lot of power, since our 3rd item has to be Toxic Blade, I am going to get myself a stone cutting sword. The stone cutting sword will help me get a little bit more movement speed. So we'll have the 10% from our golden blade. We'll have the 7% from our stone cutting, basically like we have boots, and Toxic Blade will start to put us over the top. Standardly, you're not going to get boots on Bakasura right now. You can get boots. The situation in which I would get boots on Baka is if you have fallen really far behind. So you get your golden blade and then you look around and you realize how far behind you are. Boots are still a very early game efficient item. So sometimes those boots can help you come back into the game. But I wouldn't get them unless you're behind.
Enemy missing left.
Now for our 3rd item, we got to get that Toxic Blade because of all of their healing. If I didn't need a Toxic Blade right now, where is the Toxic Blade? There it is. If I didn't need a Toxic Blade right now, there's a good chance I would be getting myself into a Hastened Fatalis. Really helps you with your ganks on Baka. It's not called Hasten Fatalis anymore, right? It's called Hasten Katana. It'll just make your ganks so much easier. It is not a mandatory item for your ganks. It is just an extremely helpful item for your ganks. So this game, there's a decent chance that I don't end up with it at all. just because we're going to end up needing to get this Toxic Blade. So I know where the Erlang is. We see the Emoja. This is the time of the game on Bakasura and any other. That was a good Emoja 3 right there. On Bakasura and on any other character that you're farming the enemy jungle a lot, make sure you're constantly warding in the enemy jungle. Most of the time, you're going to end up warding their red buff or their speed buff. Those are two prominent locations that are going to let you know not only where like the enemy mid laner and stuff is, but it's going to let you know where the enemy jungle is in their farming path. So if you see them over on the speed buff, chances are they're about to go do the Harpy camp and then the blue buff, right? If you see them over on the red buff, chances are they're about to go do the purple buff or the back camp. So it kind of lets you know where your enemy jungle is farming and can also help you get some timers.
Okay.
So you can see on Bakasura, I'm 10 minutes into this game. I've been involved in 3 kills, which is like fine. But my main concern is not getting involved in these kills. It is making sure that I'm constantly running through my jungle, making sure my farm is down, and then running through the enemy jungle and making sure that their farm is down. Above all else, that is your goal. Now, if somebody's going to hop in front of you and they kind of looking like a snack, that's fine. You can look for a little something. Remember as well that on Bakasura, when you throw up all of your minions from your ulti, you can actually eat those minions right back up. So sometimes people panic and they forget, but if I was like near one of my minions right there that I had regurgitated, you can actually eat them right back up with eat minion and you get that big heal effect. So you can actually provide a minion for yourself to heal off of. That can become quite convenient in the late stages of the game, especially when you need to get like a stack of your passive up or something. We see some action over in left lane. I don't think they're going to need my help, but I do want to position myself just in case there is a rotation coming. Looks like the Emoja has started to make her way over here. So I'm going to follow him through all this. Couple auto attacks here and a little jump to finish it right on up. Oh, the shield at the absolute last second. Very well timed right there on that shell. We should be able to burn down this Gold Fury for free now. Bakasura, pretty strong at burning the objectives in the early game. Late stages of the game, not so good. You're not gonna build like crit or anything. Team should be a little bit careful. Hello, game auto attack, that was weird. You're not gonna transition into destroying and decimating objectives like a Mercury will, somebody that's building crit. But in the early game stages, the bonus damage that you get from your 3 is relevant for like your Gold Fury Pyromancer fights, and you can burn them down fairly quickly. But ultra late game, you won't be that stellar at getting rid of the objectives. Bakasura is okay right now too in the meta. I do believe that he is a playable jungler. His biggest problem is that he's too passive for this meta. So there's a bunch of action going on in mid right now. I've got a nice XP lead, so I'm going to try to get myself in a position. I'm going to pop my 3, I'm going to blink in and use my ulti, and we're going to get ourselves a bunch of kills off of this. So this is the exact situation. I'm going to eat a minion, going to get my passive going and use my Golden Blade on the tier 2 tower in order to finish that kill on AMA because she was slightly out of my reach. So that's the exact situation you want to find yourself in on Bakasura. You're running around the jungle, you're farming your living brains out. Because you're farming their jungle so much, their jungle is super far behind because you're taking away all of their potential XP. Then it's time to get grouped up for a fight. Bada bing, bada boom. You've got like a 3, 4, 5 level lead. And you take all of the enemy gods in front of you like they were minions. So I'm going to back up after this camp right here. We're going to get ourselves a Toxic Blade for that anti-heal. So let's go get that for ourselves. Going to be able to reduce their healing for 40%. That is nice. We're also embracing kind of an attack speed build this game because we needed the Toxic Blade. So I'm going to go into a 4th item, Kins. Kins is going to help us as these targets start to build more HP. And it's going to stack well with the fact that our attack speed is going to be near capped once we have our passive procced up in our items finished. So we're going to get a lot of value out of that Kins. If you absolutely positively feel like you need
Your right tower is
a hasten right now in this situation, you could buy the hasten. I just am not feeling like I'm having too many struggles catching up to my targets, so I want to build into more damage. Another thing with hasten is that stat-wise, it's pretty garbo. It's not a very good item outside of its passive, and I've already had to buy an item in Toxic Blade that its stats aren't that good, but I had to have the passive. And so if I buy 2 of those types of items in a row, I'm really going to lose a lot of my power spike that I have right now just purely from my additional farm, and I don't want to lose out on that. So I'm going to back up right now and get that Kins as soon as possible.
They won't want to run into me.
For matchups for Bakasura, Bakasura is kind of a weird power spike right now. I would say he spikes mid-game. So ultra early game junglers will beat him. An Arachne will smack you in the early game. A Thanatos will be able to run right at you. But he also can get smacked in the ultra late game to the very good late game junglers, the Sukis of the world. So you got to be careful in both the ultra early game and the ultra late game. I would say from about the 10 to the 25 minute marker, this is really your sweet spot on Bakasura, where you're going to find that you're most effective. Once everybody starts getting level 20, your damage is not nearly going to be as good as it is in the mid game. But you have to get that like level 5 through 9 before you really start getting your damage on. So kind of a strange character to play right now. Not super great early, not super great late, but in that mid game, if you've been farming properly, that's when you can get a lot of damage online. That's when the enemy team will really feel your presence. Nobody really needs to pair with Bakasura on your team. If you were going to pair Baka with anybody, you're really only looking for 2 potential things. One, somebody who can just go ahead and keep him alive. So any of the regular suspects will do that. The Gebs of the world, the Kepris of the world, Yamoja. All of those characters can help keep you alive because you are kind of a mid-game hyper carry. And then the second thing that can be nice for Bakasura is anybody that can increase your attack speed. So this could just be your solo laner buying a Shogun's Kusari for you. This could be pairing up with a Fafnir to actually provide you with that additional attack speed through his kit. Something of that sort. Those are the only 2 things that can really pair with Baka. You know, he doesn't need a lot of setup. He doesn't need a lot of CC with him. He's basically just jumping in there and trying to kill somebody that's slowed by his ultimate. So all you're looking to pair with him is just something that lets him thrive, lets him hold down the left click and the W key at that same time. So shields, heals, bonus to his attack speed. AMA wouldn't be a bad combination with Bakasura. Gives him some increased movement speed so he can catch up to targets. She can switch to give him additional power, help him get additional power against objectives. You can kind of see the theme that is going on right there. So now at this stage of the game, now I am going to start to get myself into a hasten katana. So I've got myself a significant amount of damage with my stone cutting and my Kins. Got the anti-heal with my Toxic Blade. Now, as we get later into this game, I'm becoming a little bit concerned that I won't keep up with my targets. They have the AMA, who's going to provide that bonus movement speed. Plus, they have the Hell, who provides that bonus movement speed as well on her heal. Not to mention Umoja 3, all kinds of stuff like this. They've got a lot of potential for bonus movement speed. Earlier in the game, I wasn't so concerned about it because those abilities weren't so level up. It wasn't as much of a problem. But now we're entering into the later stages of the game. 20 minutes right now is late game in Smite. I know that kind of seems wrong, but 20 minutes is the official start of late game. Early game is really only the first 5 minutes. Mid game is about 5 minutes to. You could argue that up to 10 minutes is early game. Just depends on the game. So 5 to 10 minutes for the early game, and then from that point on, you've got about until the 20-minute marker for the mid game. And then once the 20-minute marker hits, you're really into the late stage of the game. Most games right now ending between that 20 to 30-minute marker. For Bakasura, there's not really any tips and tricks with his kit. His kit is as straightforward as it seems. You're trying to eat the big minion. Eating the big minion will give you more credit on your passive meter. These little dots represent how many of your minions that you're going to summon. So I eat this big guy and I get 2 dots instead of 1. That means that when I ulti, I will regurgitate currently 4 minions up to a possible of 6 minions. Those minions matter for 2 reasons. One, they provide you with additional damage and additional body blocking. That's nice. And it also gives you more opportunities to use your eat minion in order to regen yourself. So all good things. Now you do not need the minions on this ability to be stacked up to use it. I really don't want you ever concerned about that passive meter. It's not like, oh, I don't have all 6 minions built up, so I should not use my ultimate. That don't find yourself in that situation. You should be using your ultimate whenever you're going in for the gank. Use it for its cripple, so it's going to be really good against gods like Neith, because then she gets stuck inside of that cripple range and she cannot use her jump to get out unless she beads. And who wants to beads a Bakasura ulti? Gross. What this does mean, though, is that gods that have bonus movement speed in their kit do well against Bakasura. So this is actually quite a good team against the Baka. The Umoja 3 potential bonus movement speed, the Hal heal, the AMA passive. A lot of these bonus movement speeds are quite good against Bakasura. Gets him outside of his auto attack range, and it gets you outside of that cripple range. My Bagas has jumped in right now. I don't really want to go in to help him until they've used a couple more abilities. Now that I've used a bunch more abilities, I'm going to go right in for the Hal because he seems to be the problem child. Now I'm just going for any target that is in front of me. Going to try to get myself out of this situation now. That mid Phoenix is still up. So I'm going to get myself over here by this left tower. I can see my minions coming up, so I know the minions are going to spawn in just a couple of seconds. So I'm just going to sit here and wait to eat a minion. My team is having no problem with that mid Phoenix. Erlang is coming on over. There's the minion spawn, and that's going to get me healed right on up. And then I'm going to use these minions to stack up my passive.
Be careful.
We still need to be a little bit careful right here and head over towards that right Phoenix. Gonna try to peel even a little bit here for my Raw, and I should be able to go in with my hasten finish. I actually might be able to grab a couple of kills right here in this fountain room, and we're gonna be able to grab a couple right here at the end. Our hasten fatalis is online. We've got the full gas pedal potential. We've got the heals from the Raw. I do need to be careful about this hell, but now I'm just gonna focus down this Titan, and we should be able to end this game. For my last item, I was heading myself into a Blood Forge. Blood Forge pairs really well with Bakasura because when you get that Blood Forge proc, you gain the bonus movement speed. That bonus movement speed helps you get in range of your autos with your hasten, which lets you once again continue your gas pedal. You've got your passive increase to your attack speed and your movement speed. So once you get started in combat, if you get on a roll, you can really get to chomping and chomping and chomping and chomping. And Bloodforge helps you stay into those fights in the very late stages of the game because Bakasura will start to drop off and you'll start to be like, when I jump into these fights, I'm really having a hard time staying alive. You're going to transition. You're going to start to use your blink to get into fights. Look for a kill or two. Hopefully you get that Bloodforge proc. Helps you stay in there a little bit longer. And then you're going to use your jump as a getaway skill primarily in the late stages of the game. Keep in mind, we never bought boots. So we would have bought the potion of speed for the bonus movement speed that it would have provided us. But there was no item for us to sell for that boot slot because we never bought boots, guys. And that is our Bakasura guide.